Am I more than you bargained for? Ghoul. Been 200 years since the bombs all blew. I'm watching you crawl out of all 32. I'm sleeping in power armor, dreaming of you. We're wasteland junkies and bottle cap babies. You're my Nuka-Cola lady. We're going down, down to a vault underground, and we're doing cousin stuff in it. We've got your week.
After they're done getting it on, he gets out of bed and he goes over to the window like he's gonna, appreciate the scenery. And instead, he wipes his junk on the curtains. And she's like, oh. It really registers. It hits her like, oh, that's not something I would ever do. That's really gross.
Is marking his territory, I guess. I don't know. Making sure the carpet matches the drapes because he's got some spook. I don't know.
I just think he's a cretin.
My tech, but I trade it all for one more set.
Welcome to Fallout Boys, the officially unofficial podcast for Fallout on Amazon Prime. I'm Jim.
I'm Aaron.
And today we're covering Season 1, Episode 1, The End. And I'm going to have to get used to saying Amazon Prime because it's been a while since we've covered a Prime show. I'm trying to remember the last one.
Rings of Power,
Boys?
Season 2.
Rings of
maybe
Power.
Boys? I thought Rings of Power came after Boys, the last season of Boys. But yeah, Rings of Power.
Oh, that's a good one to pick up. It got a lot of buzz. People really like it. It's very faithful to the games, as best I could tell, though it's telling its own story. And I watched through all of Season 1, and I really enjoyed it. Aaron, what's your familiarity with Fallout as a franchise, and particularly this show?
Well, I don't have much familiarity with Fallout. I don't really like computer role-playing games. The ones that are like chunky, where it's like, oh, here's the hit percentages and all that stuff. It's like I just rather blow things away in first person, So I haven't played a lot of them, but I was a fan of the old school Wasteland on the Commodore 64, which everyone has said is a spiritual successor. It's in terms of like rad scorpions and wasteland mutants and things like that, it definitely Fallout definitely drew a lot of inspiration. But Wasteland draws a lot of inspiration from Mad Max and post-apocalyptic sci-fi in general. But yeah, no, the reason I got into this is because, as we've seen, it had a huge amount of buzz. This thing was nominated for 16 Emmys this year. It won one. And on the Bald Move side, on our annual award show, it was nominated for 2024 Bald Move Awards for Best Debut or Pilot. Biggest surprise, Best TV Drama. Got a community nomination for Best Lead Actor, Walton Goggins. Walton Goggins got a nomination for Badass of the Year. And one Biggest Miss, which is the Community's award of like what show that came out that we should have covered, we didn't cover. Yeah. That's a leading indicator for, oops, we should have probably covered this show. I remember why we didn't. Because, funny enough, Rings of Power Season 1 was our last experience with a big budget Amazon production, and we were not thrilled with Season 1's A Ring of Power. We weren't really familiar with Fallout, and we're like, like a video game show, and Amazon's got it. How good can it actually be? Very good, it turns out. I had, we covered this a lot on our premium podcast, Off the Clock, where we talk about shows that we don't have a full podcast for. I had a funny kind of checkered experience because Jim had watched the first episode, and I went to go watch the first episode, and we were sharing a profile at the time. And the way Amazon's like restart next and all that was so confusing that when I'm like, oh, restart episode, I actually went on to episode 2, and I watched episode 2 without any episode 1 knowledge. And I'm like, this is a bizarre way to tell a story. This dude with a dog and a lab. And then there's this lady walking to Wasteland, and she's Mr. Father, but I don't know why I should care about any of this. And then Jim's like, what the hell are you talking about? and I went back and I realized, and I'm like, oh, this is a much better show. and I'm glad that we're giving it coverage. It has this unique blend of humor, cool sci-fi action, great acting. It's occasionally, gets to a place where it kind of soars on emotion, especially around, I think, Walton Goggins' ghoul backstory. A little bit, I would say there's a little bit of mystery, but this is, even though this is a Jonathan Nolan and Joy combo, it's not nearly like Westworld, where the show kind of revolves around what the hell's going on. There's mysteries in like any mystery, like this person has a shadowy past and you're kind of dropped in a world that's fully realized, but you and your surrogate, Lucy, is a very sheltered person that doesn't have any experience really with the real world of Fallout. And it really works well.
Yeah, that's another reason why we did not cover season 1, I think, because we were fresh off the disappointment of what Westworld became over the years. And knowing that Nolan and Joy were taking this show under their wing, did not do positive things for us on top of the already, sort of bias we had against it. As somebody who's never actually played a Fallout game, but is like casually familiar with, the subject matter and the I guess tropes and things that it has done and created over the years. I had a little bit of interest, but not enough to actually take this on season 1, sight unseen.
That's the thing, is because as a citizen of the internet, these are such a huge portion of a lot of gamers, like we're outliers of never having played these Fallout games. But I'm because I am a citizen of the internet, I'm conversant with the memes. I know about Liberty Prime. There's apparently a giant communist hating robot that's gone amok in this world. And he just is a 100-foot tall robot that strides the battlefield as an NPC, saying a bunch of anti-communist slogans and launching portable nuclear missiles. And it's a whole thing. I knew from my Warhammer fandom that there is a take on like kind of Space Marines and the Brotherhood of Steel. And they have power armor, and they've got this kind of knightly blah, blah type of culture. And so I knew enough, and I knew vaguely that there's ghouls and they had some stuff, and there's radiation, obviously Vault Boy, Nuka-Cola.
Yeah, Pip
like
Boy,
I said, just
and
memes.
all the Vault stuff.
Yeah, kind of like where I was at with Warhammer 10 years ago, where it's like, oh, okay, there's, just the God Emperor of Mankind, ha ha ha. But it's when what I love about Fallout is the same thing I love about Warhammer. It's just a great setting. You don't have to understand, and maybe it's even a barrier for enjoyment, because I saw quite a few, I guess what you call Fallout purists that were unhappy with some of the takes. But I wasn't burdened by all that, because this is a fantastic setting. It's it's really interesting, the concept of the vaults and the kind of back and forth nature of this show's storytelling, and that they show a little bit of the pre-fall and then they go back into the 200 years in the future with the Vault Boy stuff. I guess I'm saying is like I didn't find my lack of Fallout knowledge to be a hindrance. In fact, it might have been a help, because I didn't approach this with any kind of preconceived notions.
Yeah, I think the people who came into this looking for Fallout, by and large, were very pleasantly surprised. I think this is, based on what I've seen, people who are familiar with the games and play them say this is very faithful in spirit, if not. And the people who didn't like this show because they're huge Fallout fans probably hated it for really stupid reasons. Like, there's this one detail in this one episode that I don't like because it doesn't match up with the thing that I remember from Fallout.
This doesn't match the canon lore from Fallout New Vegas, even though I'm almost certain that all these games have multiple endings based on what you actually get up to. So like, what the fuck is the concept of canon in a video game, I
don't know, but it takes all of the pieces that people, as best I can tell, love about this show or these video games and turns it into a show. And it does so extremely well. Like you said, I don't think you need to be versed in Fallout to enjoy this. I certainly am not, and I did enjoy it. I think it has a very standard Fallout introduction. You know, something happens in the vault which forces a character out into the wasteland, and boom, the story is off and running. This was a very compelling version of that, I thought.
Yeah.
Great introduction to these characters.
I've understood it's like, oh, your water reclamation unit's broke, so everyone's going to die of thirst unless you go out there and find a new part. This is a little bit more of a personal connection. It's got a great... I guess that's the thing is like, why would a person who doesn't give a shit about video games like this show? I think this is an easy recommendation to make if you're a fan of science fiction fantasy, because it's got all the things. There's monsters. There's kind of super powered individuals. There's fantastic technology. The design, this kind of like neo retro modern 1950s rocket technology, essentially Flash Gordon kind of future. I guess a Flash Gordon steampunk type future. And it's got great. I mean, if you have never had the privilege of seeing a Walton Goggins performance, if you missed him in The Righteous Gemstones, if you've missed him in Justified, wasn't he also in The Shield? Lotus. If you've missed him in The Shield, you're going to get a really good Goggins, a really good grizzled beef jerky Goggins. And he's really entertaining. Lucy is played by, is it Ella Purnell? Who I first got her, she drew my attention with Yellow Jackets, where she is just a fucking handful in a pill. And she is such a delightful character. You know, just kind of like this relentlessly optimistic, looking on the bright side, naive character. It's got Kyle MacLachlan in it as her dad. I think he's he's kind of in weird Portlandia dad mode here, which I think suits him. Tons of people. Zach Cherry. Hello, Zach Cherry is in here. Deadpool's roommate, blind roommate is in here. And there'll be fun casting. There'll be fun stunt casting to come. I think Matt Berry makes an appearance as a zany voice. And I guess the other thing is what I want people to know is this: if this is your first time through the Fallout experience, we are not going to be spoiling it. We are going to be doing this straightforward as if we hadn't seen all the episodes. But the one change will be our feedback section, since presumably it's for people who want to talk about the show. We're going to make the feedback section a spoiler-free zone. So if you have not seen season 1 and you're like, I've been waiting for Bald Move to cover it, there are weirdos like that. You exist. You walk among us. We're going to give you that experience, no spoilers. But if you're a veteran and you want to bring up your favorite part of the lore or a little Easter egg or anything like that, please send those in to fallout@baldmove.com. We're going to be releasing one episode a week from season 1. There'll be a 1 week gap between the end of our season 1 coverage and the start of our season 2 coverage. And we will have a little kind of a wrap up / tease for season 2. And then away we'll go on season 2. I think
you said the feedback's going to be spoiler free. You mean like weapons free, right? Like free to do all spoilers.
I'm sorry
that's the intention.
If I communicated the feedback section was a safe zone for spoiler phobes, it's opposite day. It's actually super spoilery, and you don't want to listen to it. And we'll make sure that we delineate that section each and every time we do it. But a lot of people saying whenever we do retro coverage is like, is it going to be spoilers? No, that's we're not going to spoil things. What else do we have?
I don't know that I can spoil things. I forget a lot of this. I would say the other reason to watch this show is this is above everything else. I think a character drama. That's what makes it so compelling at times. You have a lot of different people with either conflicting motivations or their own internal motivations that get challenged over the course of this season. And I think that was probably the most compelling part of it for me. Aside from just the sci-fi and the fun and the humor and the design, all that, there's that. There's a
little bit of Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, found family, characters forced together by circumstance, kind of bonding. But you don't. There's a lot of good feels, lots of funny. There's lots of humor. Lots of disgusting violence. If you want to see, this episode's got a man's head being exploded by a shotgun after another man gets impaled with a baby doll leg through the heart. There's some kind of chunk cannon. Dude gets cut in half by it's got a lot. There's some interesting sexual culture explored amongst the vault dwellers. Some cousin stuff.
This show doesn't feel afraid to bring up anything, really. Nothing feels off limits here. It's just a take on a world that is ravaged by nuclear war and what that might look like given the fact that we have vaults and a lot of people who were not in them.
What does common morality look like 250 years into a nuclear irradiated vault culture? Can you assume that every community is going to have the same mores as you are? The same compunctions against, say, eating human flesh, or the sanctity of life, or whether the human DNA strand is stable. Lots of opinions on all that. What else we want to say before we get into the coverage of the show, Jim?
Nothing. I'm ready.
All right. Let's start. Looks like that mushroom cloud is smaller than your thumb, so you still have time to go to support.baldmove.com to get ad-free podcasts and so much more. Oh, you're back from our cousin stuff, aren't you? Welcome back to the Fallout Boys. Okay, we're going to get into it. Season 1, Episode 1 of Fallout, entitled The End. Maybe that's another reason I skipped it. Just seeing it, and I'm seeing the end. Oh God, that can't be it. I gotta go to a different episode. But the end begins with us being introduced to a retro future America that we'll later find out by context clues is the year 2077. We see Cooper Howard, who is a war veteran and some sort of cowboy personality, is working for a child's birthday party. He's essentially the clown there with his young daughter. And at the party's conclusion, some fireworks are set off.
Whenever I hear the words "the end" and it relates to the beginning in this ironic way, I always think of the Smashing Pumpkins song off the Batman and Robin soundtrack titled "The End is the Beginning is the End." So I just know that while I'm talking here, I have Batman and Robin soundtrack running in my head. That'll be fun.
That's not good. I don't want Now I'm expecting there to be nipples on all the Brotherhood of Steel's armor. I guess there is, slight spoilers for next episode. There will be a codpiece joke. So maybe there is, maybe there's some Schumacher DNA in here.
But this is a good introduction to the character Cooper Howard, played by Walton Goggins. It's kind of depicting his life as you have to kind of read between the lines a little bit here, but what they're effectively saying is this guy got labeled as a communist at some point, at like kind of the height of his career, it seems. And since then, he has been unable to really find good quality work. And so now he's essentially a birthday cowboy. Seems like potentially a single father, too. He's got his daughter who's tagging along at this birthday party, sort of helping him with his act, but I get that. I get the feeling that it's also a bit of a babysitting job. I don't know. And yeah, he's just a guy who seems to have had it all and then was laid low at some point.
And with as I was watching this for the first time, the Red Scare, the fact that I kept on thinking about, is he, because he's accused of being a pinko, but I kept on thinking, is he? Or does he just have an unpopular opinion? Fair question. Is he a war veteran that just has seen too much war and he's disturbed by people's frank cavalierness about... And the other thing you get is how in the sand these people's heads are, that they are actively going about this, kind of 1950s retro consumeristic American culture. Don't let the kids watch the TV. You let them watch the violent barbarian show instead. But there's this one chilling scene where a guy's reading the weather and he just has a like, fuck this. Like, why am I reporting on the weather when, and we have the channel change. So there's a lot of tensions here.
Oh yeah. There's also a little bit of, I think, class topics sort of introduced here, because he is a guy who is clearly probably had money at one point, and now he's working for people who are vastly richer than he is. So there's a little bit of that in there, not much.
Yeah. And he's trying to, like, there's these people putting him down, and his daughter is hearing some of it, but he's trying to shield her, that like, hey, daddy's not disgraced. He's just, they didn't call me a pinko. They said that you're such a great helper. And he's trying to shelter her. And also, like, like it's sad. There's like, she's a kid, above all. And she's seeing her dad at a birthday party. And she's like, any other kid wants a little piece of cake, but it's not a given that the help might get a piece of cake.
No,
I would think. I can't imagine inviting a clown to a birthday party or magician or, whatever you're going to do and not let him have cake. Like,
sure. Yeah. I mean, maybe let all the kids get served first would be my intuition. And then if there's a piece left over for Bozo, he gets one. But
I guess, yeah, I wouldn't feed the clown before the kids had the piece, but I'd also plan ahead that everyone should get a piece, including the clown, like. You really want a clown? You really want to piss off a clown at a birthday party? That's how you get him coming back at your house at midnight, doing some American Horror stuff.
Sure,
that's what I'm saying.
Pie your front door.
When you hear those squeaky shoes outside your door at midnight, your blood runs cold.
There's also some interesting hypocrisy in this scene, I guess, because you've got these people who are throwing this birthday party and have hired Cooper to be the attraction here, clearly have a lot of reverence for him, remember him fondly from when he did the thumbs up thing, right? That's his whole shtick. And yet they're calling him a pinko, communist, whatever. If they hate him so much, why did they hire him to entertain their children at the birthday party? So there's a lot of, like, they don't quite believe the things that they're saying about him either.
Or they don't, like, it's a thing where it's like, because, a lot of the stuff with the McCarthyism wasn't so much as like proof, but implication. You could just be smeared. Or if someone couldn't get work in Hollywood for one reason, like, people could just make the assumption, oh, they've been blackballed. So I wonder if there's some ambiguity between why he's no longer working and then him refusing to do his thumb thing because of the climate, or like, oh, he's some pinko commie, he's some peacenik.
Yeah, it could be they're just pissed at him for not catering to their whims.
I like and that's the only indication we have that he is a military vet. He might be lying, but part of his shtick is that he said that the thumb thing that we're talking about is apparently when he was trained during, I guess the Cold War went active at some point. Well, obviously it's doing it here, but they trained him when there's a nuclear bomb that's dropped on the horizon, hold out your hand and stick out your thumb. And if the mushroom cloud is smaller than your thumb, then run like hell. If it's the same size or bigger, just lay down and die. Which is ironic because right after he explains that, the big bomb drops. These mushroom clouds are much larger than his thumb, and they're all over the place. And yet, as a father, he can't help but grab his daughter, get on his horse, and desperately ride for some imagined safety.
Sure. Yeah, there's a little bit of not acknowledging your fate, I guess, wrapped up in that. Obliviousness or I don't know. It's not oblivious. He's just like, okay, what are my options here? I do nothing and I die.
Yeah.
Or I try and do anything I can. So to me, it comes across as, well, he's a survivor. He understands how, doomed he is, but he's still going to try something.
Yeah, and even if you're like, I feel like that's what you do as a human being. If you like, you keep fighting until the blackness comes. I mean, I guess you could also sit down and piss yourself. That's another human reaction. But if you don't have the freeze response, then you're going to try to flight or fight it. You know, you can't even help it. You know, you
think
know
that's
it's
instinctual.
It's doomed and it's over. But you know, you can fight for one last breath. So,
and you can almost extrapolate
especially.
That.
Go ahead.
You could almost extrapolate that to humanity here in this Fallout world, right? Like they see the impending doom of nuclear war and it happens. And then their choices are, well, we can let the species die, or we can go into these vaults and do whatever it takes to survive down there. If that means fucking your cousins, we do it. If that means marrying off your children as child brides to random strangers, we do it. You know, we do what we have to do just to survive. That's humanity.
We do what we can because we must. I think that there's also a lot of just other ironies, you know, that this is a human race living on the brink. It's like a Cuban Missile Crisis that never stops. So now like children's cereals called Sugar Bombs. They're watching Grognak the Barbarian. Right. And I thought it's interesting that the episode they're about to watch is called The Ruby Ruin. And that's a fair description of what we see. These bright red fireballs just eating Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess this Grognak the Barbarian is a franchise that exists in the Fallout universe. Yeah. Which is cool. They have a lot of those little references.
Oh, man. Like I said, there's so much, you know, like I'm aware of the Nuka-Cola of it all, but right. Yeah, there's probably a ton. So that's where we end things. And the music transition from this absolute horror to this upbeat kind of positive industry music, as the title card says, it's 219 years later. The reason I said the bombs were dropped in 2077 is because on a blackboard, as Lucy's explaining her various duties, she's teaching American history, and it says the bombs were dropped in 2077. So 219 years later, it says, we meet Lucy McLean, who is a bright go-getter from Vault 33 that's feeling the urge to merge and requests a privilege of marrying to an outsider from Vault 32. I'd say she's overqualified for breeding, Jim.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Compared to what, right? Like, is she average? Is she above average? Below average? We don't know. As compared,
I feel like by the end of the episode, we do. And they kind of hint, because like, you know, she talks about I'm in the pipe fitters union, and she's there with her pregnant friend, and they're wrenching on these big pipes. It's very Rosie the Riveter. She's good in science, but not as good as her dad. But maybe her dad is some kind of fucking genius. She's got speech skills. She teaches American history. She's in the gymnastics club. And like everything that she says, and she's being self-deprecating. Intermediate phys ed. She's whipping a guy twice her size. She dabbles in riflery, but she's not very good at it. But then they showed the target card where she's shooting burst fire, and they're all in the 9 ring, which is, you know, if you're sending all your targets there, you're essentially destroying a human's heart or head. You know,
sure.
So I think they're telling us that she is very modest, but compared to the rest of the Vault, when we see their combat performance, her and her dad are a cut above the rest.
Yeah, and all of this feels to me like running down your stats in a video game, right? She talks, she almost gives numbers of how good she is.
My charisma squirrel is this. My constitution is this.
Science, speech, repair, all
my reproductive organs intact.
Yeah, so they did a good job making it. They did a really good job just showing us what the values, I guess, and the work ethic and the just general attitude of all the people in the Vault is. Because she doesn't seem like she's abnormally any of these things. She seems like this is just, she fits into this group because she is all the things this group is.
Yeah,
unlike her brother,
I agree.
Who is
and that's
weird.
The other thing they effortlessly sell is that they're a very close family, very close with her dad. She does literally everything with him, apparently. But the brother is kind of a black sheep. He's kind of keep all this at arm's length kind of guy. But also his kind of distrust and kind of dissatisfaction with the system gives him insight sometimes, because I think he sees the Vault Raiders for what they are before anybody else does.
Yeah, for sure. And he might be there to serve as sort of a counterpoint to, I guess, the naivete of these people, right? Like, they are wholesome and they are optimistic, but that can be a trap of its own.
Yeah.
Especially when you're not dealing with only people. When your universe encompasses more than just the vault you live in. Yeah.
And the vault culture seems like it's broadly 1950s happy day culture, but
totally
without the racism and sexism. You've got all races here represented that are on the council. You've got women that are on the council. Yeah.
Without a clear Fonzie either. Like, I don't know who the Fonzie would be. It's not Chet. Yeah. I can tell you that
Kyle
much.
MacLachlan is the Fonz. I can see him in a leather jacket going, hey. They introduce us to the iconic wrist computers of the Fallout universe. These are the Pit Boys that in the video game act as your inventory management, your health system, your map, quest giver. It's a lot. It's a lot of different things, and it's very faithfully reproduced here. We also get. Go ahead.
Just so many good world building details.
Yes.
Like this dress, when we find out, okay, she's going to get married. This is a triannual trade is what they say, which I think means 3 times a year, which is way more frequent than I would have guessed.
That's why I think it's got to be every 3 years. It's like biannual can mean twice a year or every other year. Because if they're getting breeders 3 times a year, this isn't exactly a special event,
Mm-hmm. But then you've got the dress that she's going to be wearing, which is marked with the dates and the names of the people who have worn it. So they recycle all of these things. You aren't wasting valuable material by creating a dress for every single bride, which makes a lot of sense if it's triannual. Makes probably honestly just as much sense if it's triennial.
And we also see that she's excited but also scared, like she would be, and we find out her father is not native to Vault 33 either, that he came from 31 in a similar situation. He was the breeder that was traded to the mom, and there's a little flashback of you get that the mom's out of the picture, but she's a very young and vibrant and beautiful woman that does bear a pretty good resemblance to Ella Purnell. Just a little flashback, this hazy memory that she has of her mom. So that's another kind of mystery that they're introducing.
They're introducing some weird sexual dynamics with these kids before they're married off. She, in passing, just mentions, after 10 years of cousin stuff, I'm definitely excited for the real thing, which to my sensibilities is like, oh no.
It's said with the same effect that like a teenager would talk about mouth stuff today. It's like, oh, that's the shit you do, but it's not for reproduction. It's just to blow off steam, fucking your cousin, because they're aware that it's like a bad idea. You can't do, but she's also enjoyed it. It clearly enjoyed it. And you meet Chet, her cousin, and he's a very good looking, strapping lad.
If that's all you have, I guess you would enjoy it.
And
needs as a human,
again,
a teenager.
What's the morality of fucking your cousin in a nuclear vault 200 years into the future if you're not actually reproducing and bringing any mutant recessive genes into the vault? Who are you hurting? Who's
for
Chet?
Sure.
Who's Chet and Lucy hurting here? Nobody.
The morality for us is really about like the long-term survival of the species, whereas here we're in a very acute situation that needs a lot of management, and I could see that being an option for sure.
Also, I bet like after a generation or two, like everyone in the vault is your cousin to some extent, so there's like you almost have to cross-pollinate or your genes will get all weird.
Yeah, and so that brings up the other half of that, right? Which is the assigned marriages. You just kind of get who you get. It's based on a draw. There's an approval process to even get married in the first place. You have to prove your worth or value,
right?
And then you trade with other vaults. Yeah, that increases in a very managed way the gene pool for all of these tiny siloed vaults.
Yeah. And there's just some slide, they talk about the pink Okami in the opening. There's all these motivational posters that are weird takes on like Karl Marx's from each according to their ability to each according to their need. This is, I don't know what the first part of it says, but each according to its merit. So it's very hyper libertarianism, that the sweat of your brow is what entitles you to the support and the produce of the community.
Which probably works really well in a small siloed community.
Yeah, it's a commune at the end of the day, and you can't get more communistic than living in a commune.
Sure.
We then, after she gets approved and she gets all dolled up and in her hand-me-down dress, Lucy gets to meet her new husband, and she's initially thrilled with his handsome good looks and pleasant demeanor. But the honeymoon doesn't last long. It's revealed that the Vault 32 people are actually surface raiders there to do Vault 33 harm. The raiders' leader, a woman named Lee Moldover, kidnaps Lucy's father, Hank, who we find out is in charge of the vault, and they use a small bomb to cover their escape.
Yeah, if you're looking for it, and I was, given this was my second time watching it, I knew it was coming. A lot of little signs here that not all is as it seems with these 32 group.
Yeah, they're like wolfing down food, like they haven't had a proper meal. They're not nearly as genteel as the Vault 33 people.
Which they do a little bit of cover on that too, because they talk about the wheat famine that they had.
Right.
Some blight took out a bunch of their wheat. So you could see, okay, yeah, a lot of people died. They're probably very hungry. Haven't seen food like this in a long time. So there's a little bit of cover there, but they've got a very different vibe than the Vault 33 people. Like they've got tattoos and scars, and they're a little bit greasier and dirtier, and like you said, their manners are non-existent. Yeah, they're just rough and tumble in a way that 33 is not.
But she just takes all this in stride because, like, she was expecting, we saw her blonde, like the little wisp of a dude that she ended up with, who doesn't make it through this episode. But like, everyone's kind of impressed by this guy. And, when they get married and they go to, and she's expressing about, blah of this, and she turns around, this guy's just naked. And it doesn't really, she's not a prude because she's like okie dokie, and she just rides that guy like a fucking Bronco buster. Like she is not put off by his enthusiasm to get down to it.
I mean, girls like a bad boy, right? And this guy comes across as a bad boy.
Pretty bad boy.
These people.
Look, this guy's really good looking. I think he's got a nice body. And these are two beautiful people who want to smash their bits together, and why wouldn't they?
I will say it's really funny to me. Like, I don't know. I cackled when I saw this, but when after they're done getting it on, he gets out of bed and he goes over to the window like he's gonna, appreciate the scenery. And instead, he wipes his junk on the curtains. And she's like, oh. It really registers. It hits her like, oh, that's not something I would ever do. That's really gross.
Is marking his territory, I guess. I don't know. Making sure the carpet matches the drapes because he's got some spoon. I don't know. I just think
he's a cretin. He's a savage. He has no respect for the cleanliness that they've created in this space. And
plus, this is like knowing that he knows he's a raider and they're there to kill everyone and kidnap it. And the fact that he is, this is all dubious consent and he is fully enjoying it. It's like, I just want you to know, right as he's about to kill her, this is the greatest day of my life because I got a full meal. I got fed, head, bed, and now you're going to be dead.
Dead. Yep.
So
that's the thing. A lot of this is probably, this expediency is both him not him. I don't know how much of this is him looking at her as like this innocent that he wants to defile, because they're all here to defile the innocents. He's just doing it in his own special way. And then, like, you know, marking his territory, wiping his junk on the blinds or the curtains, whatever. Is this something he's doing because he knows he has very little time? Is he just stripping naked immediately because he knows the attack is about to happen and he wants to get it in before that? Or is this just who he is?
I think it's showing us how cheap life is. That, like, not only can you be a cold-blooded killer of this beautiful, innocent woman that you just sham married and had this sexual experience with, but, like, you are completely unsentimental about it. It's not. Yeah. This isn't something that there's no, like, cut to his face where he's got to, like, put on a grim mask or he's got to really steel himself for this. It's just, this is just a Tuesday for this guy.
Mm-hmm. It's fascinated with the running water. So
there's a lot of tells that these guys are not legit, and then the ultimate tell is she whips out her Pit Boy, and he glows like a Christmas tree on the Geiger counter. So that's a dead giveaway that he's a surface dweller. There's also a really funny scene with the cousin stuff where this guy is like bumbling the gate and saying, "Oh, there's a vault. Oh, we'll have to try to reschedule because that turns out that's her cousin Chet, and he doesn't want to lose his fuck buddy." But she's like, and she goes up to him and said, "Come on, Chet, this cousin stuff is fun, but we both know it's not a sustainable sexual practice." She's very matter of fact, but adamant that I can't keep fucking. It's nothing personal, Chet. It's not about you. It's about our genetics. Yeah, and there's a lot of, again, this guy doesn't know his sperm count, which apparently people know, like, their height, weight, and blood type in this universe. And so they, Dad gives a speech, and her brother, who doesn't really fit in, decides he's going to go explore the other vault. And he quickly finds, this is interesting, that these bodies look long dead. So I wonder if this was a long-term play that they're like, okay, these people do vault transfers every once in a while. We need to get in. We got an in on this other vault. We'll go in and take it over and then wait. Or they knew that this vault had already fallen and just was like as a crime of opportunity.
I mean, they were pretty well organized. Like, they had been communicating via telegram with Vault 33. So I think it's a longer term play in my mind. Like, they had somehow found their way into Vault 32. They found out that the procedure here is a partner swap, and they were biding their time, waiting for it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was picking up too. But yeah, there's like a lot of action scene, man. There's that's where we're going from. How good is Lucy? Obviously this is going to, all of this has served a purpose so that when she goes topside and she actually is deadlier than you'd think a naive vault person would be, it all tracks and makes sense because, she's a lot more deadly. She gets the drop on this guy. She knifes him. She gets a trank gun, starts tranking people. We see her father. It just goes to work on guys, brings a dude down with a shovel, drowns another guy in the apple bob bucket.
Yeah, that's Monty.
As some enchanted evening keeps playing, which is great. The juxtaposition of the music to the sometimes it's right on, it's dead on, and sometimes it's at right angles to what's going on the screen. And this is one of the examples where it is. And there's also this great visual image where the sky, they got this blue sky, kind of farmland, and it's obviously a projection. And when the vault assault happens, that gets knocked over, or the film starts running, and the bulb burns through, and the way it does, it looks exactly like the bombs on the horizon from the intro. I thought that was really, really great. And
I mean, the world is burning here, right? They've struggled for the last 200 years to make this place sustainable. They've done a good job. Yeah. And now it's all undone in a single moment.
And I also really enjoyed her little blonde friend. You know, her husband gets killed, and she is just not having it. I think she's another one of those kind of more deadly people. Gets her eye gouged out.
Fork to the eye. I love Zach Cherry in this scene where he realizes what's happening, and he sees, the party is continuing in some parts, and he sees a guy with a tray of Jello, and he's like, "Get that jelly mold out of here." That's maybe the funniest line of the episode. Yeah.
Like, because these guys have no idea. They're walking in like, "Oh boy, we got the big dessert." And also, that's a very 50s thing, right? A Jello mold. No one makes that shit nowadays.
Not if you want to attend the party.
Right. You're going to get uninvited. You bring Jello molds.
And this is brutal too. Like, I guess this surprised me in a few ways. It surprised me with its frank sexuality and its brutality in these scenes, because there are some shots that are just straight up awful. Like, Chet getting sprayed with blood when he crushes a guy in the door accidentally is pretty horrific in a certain way. But the one that gets me is when you've got a guy who's trying to resist and fight back, and his mouth is forced onto a gun, and he's shot through the back of the head, and then they lift him up and continue shooting through his head while aiming at other people. It's incredibly fucked up.
Yeah, it's like a gun. It's like a gun port. or using it like it's great. There's a lot of interesting things that happen because this woman is Moldover. I guess that's her real name. Apparently, she's Fallout famous. She's Wasteland famous. At least Kyle MacLachlan's Hank recognizes her. And she asked them to choose between them and her. Like, are you going to get him to go along with them? And they trank the hell out of him, drag him out. She gets locked in the closet, and the bomb goes off, which covers their escape. And
I think keeps the door open, like keeps them from sealing them out in the future.
Yeah. Oh, that's probably a good take.
Is my guess.
Although that does seem like all that stuff is intact in terms of like the elevators and the locking mechanisms and all that, but I took it as just them cover, like the vault dwellers can't follow them. If they want to follow, they're either going to die in the blast or they're going to get the hell away, and give them time to get up and get away. And they also, like, the surface people have contempt for the vault dwellers because they're like, you guys, you do what vault dwellers do best, run and hide. There's this scorn for them. This Moldover lady looks at Lucy and says, "You look just like your mother."
Right.
Interesting.
How does she know that?
Little character mystery. Yeah, we know that's true, but how the hell does this lady know it's true? So they take off.
It's a pretty safe guess, right? This is like a cold read. You look just like your parents. Oh, no shit. Huh.
Yeah, I'm you look just like your parents. I'm getting a motherly vibe from the face. It's like, right. Yeah.
Well, you had a mother, and you had
it starts with an M, an N, a J, an F, a G, a B. Beth, yes, Beth. I was getting a clear Beth signal. So we're going to leave the Vault Dwellers behind a little bit. We're going to get introduced to yet another faction. This time we meet Maximus, who's a young kid who's been adopted by a militant organization that we'll learn is called the Brotherhood of Steel. All the young recruits aspire to be squires for the knights and eventually want to be knights themselves. Knights are men in power armor that are charged to go out into the wasteland and retrieve and preserve pre-war technology. It's another very Warhammer idea that, we've lost all this science, but if we could just recover from the past, we don't have to do science. We can just dig it up out of the ground. He's not very popular, and when his friend that was tapped to be a squire is sabotaged, he ends up being the prime suspect.
Yeah, tons of world building here from the other side of the equation, which is the surface. And I guess it was a kind of a question throughout the beginning of this: what is the surface like? and it seems like they're telling a story of, in the areas, as you would expect, in the areas where the bombs actually went off, they're highly irradiated to the point where there's no real colonization there. You kind of can't. But here out in the middle of nowhere, which I take it is where we're looking at here with the Brotherhood of Steel, things are a little bit less irradiated. You can survive at the very least.
Yeah, they contrast where they're at, which is a barren, not great place, like desert, to the actual wastes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think is what they're referring to when they say that.
They've cut off. They've carved out a little safe zone where, and you can see their theory that they, flesh is weak. Steel endures, and that's part of their ethos, right? Because like people decay, but you can dig up a power suit from the war, and it'll, as long as you can find a power cell for it, it'll be good for 100+ years.
Yeah, they're all about strength. It seems like their motivating force here, and wielding their strength to try and reshape the world in their image.
We see a giant airship, which I found from my research is an actual asset from the game called the Pride One. I might not be pronouncing that correctly, but this is, I think, from Fallout Vegas or Fallout 4. I don't know exactly what that means in terms of the timeline. It's my understanding this is set slightly after all of the games, or maybe a decade or so after the last of the games. So I think there's some guesses you can make from continuity, and like which version of the end of these are canon if you knew or cared about those games. And hey, if you want to send in some spoiler stuff and enlighten Jim and I love listening to lore. Fallout@baldmove.com. But it's just this massive airship that itself disgorges these other gunships out, and there's all these knights that are coming forward, which we're told are T-60 suits, implying that there must be other versions, other marks of this armor.
Yeah, some of the things that I really like in Fallout are the way you can sort of squint and see how things work. Like that projector that they're using to project rolling hills in the background of their tiny little farm that they've got in the vault. I could squint and see how that might work, with the era of technology that we're talking about. Here, it gets a little murky for me, though, because armoring a blimp seems like exactly the wrong thing to do with a blimp. I can't imagine how this thing stays afloat with such heavy armor.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I could believe that they have anti-grav technology that like supplements it. Maybe. And they might not know how it works, because sometimes I plug in my Warhammer knowledge, and like the tech priests of Mars don't understand any of the technology that they maintain, and if anything breaks beyond their ability, that technology is gone. They just lose the ability to do that forever. And that's kind of what it feels like here too, that they could not invent any of these things, but they can keep them going. So like, this is 2077 is when the world fell, and it's been 200 years since. Like there could be some pretty fantastic technology. Like, for example, Lucy stabs herself with like what I think is a screen accurate med injection. Like that's how that actually works.
Stim pack.
The stim packs, that is kind of like, every game where you can take damage has some horse shit way for you to, in The Last of Us, you just, whatever happens, you take a hatchet to the head, you're going to crouch down, you're going to bandage up your arm, This thing is it just heals you, okay? What more do you want to know? It heals you. A lot of this is just, rule of cool, and no one knows how it works, so don't expect answers, right? But everyone's whooping and hollering because this is what everyone aspires to. Everyone wants to be a squire to these men. And these squiring is your first step to becoming a knight, which is the highest aspiration, as far as I can tell, for these aspirants. And we also get when the suits reveal themselves, we get a flashback from Maximus's perspective, where he remembers being a little boy in some settlement that had just been attacked, a large scale attack, and the Brotherhood of Steel is what saved him and took him in.
I like them evoking the Indiana Jones of it all here, the crystal skull of it all, with him stepping out of a refrigerator. Now, I know This is not literally like him stepping out after the 2077 nuclear blast. He'd be 200 years old, but there is something there, like when you tie the two things together, that's like, oh, they were poking fun at Crystal Skull, right?
I think so. I think that's definitely, I mean, it's obviously he didn't get launched 300 feet into the air and come slamming down at 100 miles an hour, but because it's like, okay, I would buy that a heavy fridge would give you some protection from a blast or radiation, and apparently someone who loved him shoved him in there so that he would be safe, and that's what happened. And Max, I don't understand whether he's uniquely hated amongst these. It seems like that's it. Like him and Dane are kind of like the outcast of the group, because he apparently is just on permanent latrine duty. They got these stacks of tires that they use for shitters, and he's in charge of digging new holes and moving them, and it's just you can smell the stench through the flat screen television, the flies and the heat. Oh my god,
it's a bad gig. I do get the impression that he's a little slow. His classwork is not up to par.
That's true. They do show that it's not just the physical skills that he might lag behind, but he also can't tell a rotor from a circuit, which I'm pretty sure I could. I don't have a certification in Wasteland Tech, but if you showed me a circuit board and I said a rotor, I'd expect to get my head whapped by the head priest there.
Time for an ad break. You got two choices: Vault-Tech's Plan D, or go to support.baldmove.com to get ad-free episodes. And we're back with more Fallout Boys on Bald Move.
It turns out his friend Dane has been tapped to be a squire, and they're all very excited about that. And the next morning, when he's strapping on his boots to get ready to be a squire, lets out a blood-curdling scream. Someone has put a razor blade in the cuff of their boot that has just sliced them, and going to prevent them probably from being a squire. And for whatever reason, even though Maximus is this guy's best friend, is the prime suspect. Again, he's some sort of whipping boy for this organization.
Yeah. I mean, and I think by the end of the episode, isn't an open question about whether or not Maximus did this to Dane. I don't think that is answered. And in fact, I think they're intentionally shading it to be suspicious.
Yeah, that might be one thing that we, obviously we're just starting this. We don't have a bunch of spoiler emails, but that's something I kind of want to talk about to get the ball rolling in the spoiler section is, what are they doing here? Where are they going with it? We can talk about a little bit of that. But yeah, they're definitely, I guess I at this point thought that he probably did.
I think it's like, it's a question still at the end of the episode, because I it's his character that makes me still question it at the end, because without the other things they do with his character, I think I lean where you are, like he probably did it. But making him a little bit slow, I think, intellectually, but also maybe emotionally, making him a very weak character, and also making him a character who kind of in moments will fake it to make it. I can't quite get a read on him enough to know whether he's the actual, attacker here.
Especially we see that he's just consumed, like after he finds out that Dane has got this promotion, their BFS, but he just has this moment with the latrine where he's just beside himself with rage and jealousy. And I also like these do seem like to be the two odd men out of the organization. So yeah, I could believe that Dane has obviously what am I trying to say here? Obviously distinguished themselves in the classroom, and maybe they do have the finer points of rotary and circuitries, and they're getting the nod. And I could almost believe that the others would sabotage them and then blame it on Maximus, because it's like, well, that fucking nerd doesn't belong as a squire, and fuck this other, fuck latrine boy. So it is a big mystery. Like you said, because what I know about Maximus and what they're telling me and how he feels about the situation easily could be him.
Sure.
We're going to go back to Vault 33, where we see the Vaulters are busy getting on with their lives after the brutal raid. But Lucy, looking back to the past, she wants to save her father. The cautious Vault leadership doesn't allow it, but her cousin and brother help to sneak her to the surface with the supplies she needs to lead a one-woman search and rescue effort.
Yeah, it was interesting to me, the conclusions. I guess it's the one character in the Vault who can jump to this conclusion. No, this is a different character. This is not her brother who says this, I don't think. But in reference to the people up there who are kind of leading now in the absence of Hank, Lucy's father, they just don't want to go after him because they don't want to lose their newfound power.
So I, especially at this stage, and I'm not saying whether this was right or wrong, but I clearly remember that thinking that maybe her brother is just a little too black-pilled on society. Because
is that her brother who says it?
Yeah.
I couldn't quite remember.
Because he's kind of the one that's always looking for where's the angle, where's the other shoe that's going to fall. And I definitely got that opinion that he might be taking this a little too far, because I didn't really get that. It's like these Vaulters seem like this is their standard operating procedure. Okay, we got raided, dumbass on us. We shouldn't have let that happen. We're not gonna let it happen again, but let's just quickly move on. I just love the visual of that kind of lenticular thing, that the display that goes from good night to good morning, and the good night is all plastered in blood and gore, and then it turns over and now it's morning. Like, it feels like they're very, we can't do anything about the past. Let's just go on forward.
Yeah.
And they are getting a little hope. Now, this could be, we're watching Silo. This is a very different show from Silo, but there is this promise during the wedding that's like, if our readings are right, in less than one generation, Lucy's kids could be going out to reclaim the wasteland. So there's a lot of hope, and I feel like that they're like, why do we want to go save Hank? Yeah, sure, maybe they're ambitious. I didn't get that from them, but more of like, it's a crazy idea to go outside and try to find this guy. We couldn't stop him from kidnapping. What the fuck are we going to do to get him back? Yeah,
especially when they're, not on our home turf.
That's right.
And it's interesting to me. Like, I'm looking at these people thinking, okay, what adjustments are they going to be able to make to their lives to prevent this from happening again? Because the thing that's so dastardly about the plan from the Raiders here is it hijacks their own procedures, and the very procedures that are keeping them alive down there in the vault. They can't just stop marrying and having children with people from other vaults, because I guess at this point maybe they can if they only have another generation to go, but at some point that would bring ruin. So how do you combat these Raiders co-opting your own necessary procedures in order to hurt you?
Yeah, it's like the Vault people made a mistake. They just, I guess, trusted in the next door their neighbors a little too much. They're isolated enough that they don't know their neighbors well enough to know that something hinky has gone on over there.
Yeah, maybe you can open communications a little bit more.
But yeah, Chet wants to go with her, probably because he's hoping to get on some more of that cousin stuff. But she tranks him and vows to bring her dad home. The elders come at the last minute to try to tell her to stop, but she's already across the bridge and walks on out. I don't know if this will be important, but if you're a California native, you rapidly find out that Vault 33 is right outside the Santa Monica Pier.
Yeah.
I don't know if I buy that Ferris wheel would stay up for 200 plus years.
Yeah, maybe the ghouls really love Ferris wheels.
Maybe, they love spinning around because, right there, it's irradiated. It's right there by that salt air. There's no way. No way.
It's not getting repainted and resealed. No way.
But
I'm with you,
that's headcanon for me now that the ghouls just love Ferris wheels. They religiously, maybe actually religiously maintain it. You know, like it's some kind of cult symbol. It's the flat wheel of time that keeps going around.
There's more culture up there on the surface than we know yet. There's got to be, right? We've only seen tiny little pieces of it. The Brotherhood of Steel. They mention other factions that might want them dead. And whether those are fictional or real, I'm not sure yet. They could just be all, lore invented by the Brotherhood higher ups to keep the lower people in line. But the ghoul is out there. You see 3 other people who have like a history with another guy who's hiring them to do a job. There's a lot more going on out here than we have access to yet.
And so different. Like the Vault people are completely different from the Brotherhood of Steel, which are completely different from the Raiders, which are completely different from what's the other these cowboy like renegades. It's a real cultural mashup.
And it gives it a feel of like small, isolated pockets of survivors. I think that it makes a lot of sense that they'd be a lot different. Yeah.
And it's all kind of loosely based on, again, this weird pastiche of 50s culture. So you do see the cowboys, you do see... Anyway, moving back to the Brotherhood plot, we see Maximus is interrogated by the leaders of the Brotherhood of Steel. He doesn't admit guilt in the injuring of Squire Dane, but he does admit that he's glad Dane got hurt. For punishment, or perhaps as a teaching moment, he's assigned to be the squire to the knight in Dane's place. He's anointed as squire and sent out on a gunship with Knight Titus into the wastes. And he seems to be pretty pleased with himself.
You've got one of my favorites. I really love to hate this guy. I just call him Price because I watch Mr. Robot. His name is Michael Christopher.
Yes.
I don't know how to say it.
President of E Corp.
This guy's great, man. He brings such a sinister vibe to every line he says.
Yeah.
It's like a coiled snake, this guy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he can be like warm and friendly too, but he does. he's got this kind of sleazy malice. And he's very also he comes across as very urbane too, which kind of makes it worse. Like this guy should know better than to be doing some of the shit that he's doing. But I don't know what kind of tough guy it takes to survive out into the wastes. But yeah, there's like, he lays it on. It's like, we gave you everything. We rescued you as a kid. The least you can do is be truthful to us. But he maintains, he does allow that, like, okay, I didn't hurt Dane, but I'm glad he was hurt. And this reveals a weakness. And he even admits, I'm weak, but I don't want to be. And I feel like, so what's this proctor or leader or friar or whatever? What's his game here?
Yeah. Is he testing to see what his attitude is, where his loyalties lie? Because like he can be the thing that they want him to be, even though he's currently not.
Or maybe that they kind of secretly like that there'd be a guy who would sabotage. Like there's a, like it's bad. You don't want to attack another brother, but on the other hand, we really kind of like it that you want it this bad. It just seems like they. Yeah. It seems like all the kids are kind of almost encouraged to fight. Like no one does anything to stop it. Like they're beating the shit out of Maximus. It seems like every time we see the guys and they're just always beating up somebody. So maybe there is this kind of survival of the fittest. Yeah. I wonder if maybe it could be a test of the knight or the squires. It's like, we're going to appoint an unfit squire. Your first duty is to the Brotherhood, right? They lay this all out, that you got to protect the Brotherhood, protect the mission, protect the Lord Knights. Well, sometimes that means see something, say something. And if just the thing you see is a dipshit squire being promoted, frag him.
I think it is betraying what they actually care about, because you look at everything we know about Maximus from the time we met him until now, says that he is not qualified in any way to be in any position of responsibility or power or whatever. He's complete dumbass as far as we can tell. He admittedly says that he's a weak person. But in the moment, I think where they're making this decision about what kind of person he is, I can't quite tell if this is just a fake it till you make it, if this is like a moment of leveling up for him in Brotherhood terms, but he turns on some part of him that, even if it's not honest, it's strong. And he says the right thing. He does, in this moment, manage to convince them that he's the kind of person for this. And in my mind, this is telling us that he's the kind of person who maybe does not have like what it would actually take, but he is willing to believe what they are selling him more than anything. That's the important thing, because if you look at it, like, he mentioned something about Eden, which I can only surmise is some kind of promised land, some folklore that they've created to motivate their underlings here,
or a state that they're bringing back to the world, like, you know, by our efforts,
sure,
we're bringing Eden back. Yeah.
But it's couched in terms of mythology and folklore and like that kind of thing. Whereas if you look at the Vault, they're looking at it very pragmatically, very practically, very scientifically. They're saying we have measured the radiation levels, and it looks like in 1 generation we will finally be able to go recolonize the planet. There's a huge difference in the way these civilizations are portrayed. And I think that's what they're really getting at. Is he the kind of person who will believe what we're telling him and believe so strongly that he's willing to act on it?
Yeah. So I say, yeah, like there might be, even there's saying all the wrong things that this might be, that there's some kind of toughness that they admire about him. Because it's like, if they really thought this guy, if they really thought this guy was a danger to the Brotherhoods, why would you make him a squire to a knight?
Yeah.
No, unless the knight is a dipshit you're trying to get rid of.
Maybe.
We'll find. There's more to come. Mm-hmm. So there's this this anointed process is where the knight, I thought this was pretty badass. The knight is just standing there as he's taking these oaths, and he's passing his hand through the flame, and on his knuckles bears his sigil, which is a T, and he uses his knuckles to brand Titus's neck. So he now, I guess, belongs to the knight. And he's got this heavy ass bag that's as big as he is. Presumably this is all the maintenance gear he's going to need to take care of the knight suit. God, I hope he's been, I mean, if this guy can't tell a rotor from a circuit, that's going to be interesting too. But he rucks, it's like the knight just comes out there and just jumps on the ship. It's like 6 foot in the air. Titus has to like huff and puff. I'm sorry, not Titus, that's the knight. Maximus has to huff and puff and get this giant bag up there. But once he does, it's like he's made it. He's genuinely happy that he's got this opportunity.
Seems inefficient, I'll say. Like this feels like one of those things where the machine works the way it does for ideological reasons, not for practical reasons. And having a human, just a raw human being lugging this bag around is far more inefficient than having the knight lug it around themselves. True. They have the power to do it.
Yeah, but it's like, that's
putting
pretty
people in
squire.
their place. It's hazing of sorts. It's
Yes. Yeah, you gotta earn your dues before you get the. And I guess that's interesting. I guess that's kind of interesting that like every knight has gone through this. You know, which can be good and bad. But and now for something completely different, we're going to go to what looks like a southwest border town, some kind of citadel that's lit by torches, and some cowboys come here. They're not part of the official faction, or they're not supposed to be there. They sneak in to rustle up a ghoul, which suspiciously looks like Cooper from the Cold Open, who's been moldering in a grave for at least decades to help with a one last score they're planning. Unfortunately for them, the ghoul quickly turns the tables on him with his apparently superhuman skills and abilities, killing them all in brutal fashion. He then stalks off to pursue the lead they brought him alone.
I have a million questions. This is clearly even though he's caked with 100 pounds of makeup and CG, Walton Goggins gotta be the same character. He's dressed the same way. Like, my question is how? I guess I have one question. How? How is that possible?
His view, like the way we see him is kind of like an answer to that question abroad, because he's buried. He's been, they say that once per year, this boss that's captured him, digs him up, cuts a piece off of him, puts him back down. Is that how he lost his nose? But there's also this weird...
If you did that with a human being, they'd be dead 200 years ago. So,
but there's also...
What is the mechanism?
These bags of glow in the dark medicine that are going down to his coffin. So there's clearly something uncanny at work. Yes. A person can't live over 200 years. A person can't live in this kind of decrepit state. But there's some kind of science, some kind of medicine that's made him this way.
And that's the question I have. Like, what is going on with the mutants, the ghouls in this case? They apparently can't resist chickens. At least the feral ones can't.
Well, you know what?
So,
you fry that bird up and I couldn't resist it. I would be like, you put me underground for a year and I'm that hungry, and you got some fried chicken from the Eagle, some buttermilk biscuits with some hot honey. I'm going feral over that shit.
Yeah.
But my question was, is this bullshit? Like, can feral ghouls not resist a chicken? Or is this like a wives' tale? Like, if a vampire comes at you, throw rice at them, because they have to stop and count anything that's in front of them. And if you have a handful of rice, that'll keep them busy. Like, if there were vampires, would they? But
that's what I love about it. There's just enough ambiguity in all of these things, like the promise of Eden and the feral ghouls not resisting chickens, that you don't know what's real and what's folklore created by the radiation-addled minds of a bunch of barely clinging on human beings. I find that fascinating. I mean, I'm like way more interested in the world because I don't know everything about it yet.
Right. And there's probably a little superstition. Maybe there is basis in truth. But like,
and clearly, he does resist the chicken. Like, he licks his lips and he picks it up, but either he's not feral enough to go to just dig into this chicken, or that's a myth. Yeah.
But they're also like, they're kind of training us that, like, okay, there are things called ghouls. That are used to be people, clearly. But then there's feral ghouls that are a problem. Like, I don't know what ghoul, like, from this episode, you don't know where ghouls stand in society, because it looks like this ghoul got mixed up with the wrong crowd and he pissed off it's kind of like Han Solo and Carbonite for this Jabba the Hutt figure. But yeah, it's again effortless world building. This is some kind of chemical, some kind of medicine. He's got he's got a long life. He already had skills, and he's got some special abilities. He's probably resistant to things. You start putting all this together. But also, he's not feral. Like, he seems to be very with it. Did you recognize the leader of the gang?
It's Limehouse from Justified, of course.
Michael T. Williams.
Working together again.
And if you're not a Justified fan, you definitely remember him as Forrest Gump's brother from a different mother, Bubba.
Of course. Yep.
He knows all the ways to to cook up chicken, maybe, but cook up shrimp. Lots of there's some weird stuff he says, like when he comes out, like, well, this is some of the weirdest cold-blooded smack I've heard. So was this some kind of Amish production of the Count of Monte Cristo? Or the weirdest circle jerk I've ever been invited to. Like, those are just completely random things to say to people.
That baby doll leg thing is directly out of the game, I guess. There's a weapon called a junk jet, which lets you stuff it full of junk items from the game, and that's its ammunition.
See, I thought it was a rocket cannon, which by its description seems virtually identical. It's another... Maybe they're different words for the same thing, where you can load like anything from cans and forks to rocks, and it just shoots it out. But
it might be the same thing in different games. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, you just stuff it full of whatever and let it fly.
And it really gives it a personality. I They've really done a good job delineating between, the vault and the people in the wasteland above. I'm finding it very satisfying.
Yeah. And I think the ghoul effect looks great. Like, this looks like Walton Goggins with cancer skin, and he's missing his nose.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. I always assumed that the nose thing was just eaten away because he's a ghoul. They talk about cutting pieces off him, though. Is that why he's missing the nose?
I never even put that together the first time through, but yeah,
Neither.
I mean, again, from the memes, it does look like ghouls. They do lose their extremity, their nose and their ears and
cartilage. Yeah,
they look more and more zombified, or like real life syphilis will do to you. But also, maybe, he's a pretty well preserved ghoul. He's not feral. Maybe he did get his nose cut off.
Maybe. I can't see the other pieces he's gotten cut off. Is the guy a cannibal? Is he just chopping like leg meat off?
I think he's just doing it to piss him off because, I guess you could cut his, his little goggin off. You could cut his fingers and toes, nipples. There's all kinds of things you can cut off a person.
He seems like he has, at least on his right hand, all his fingers. We see that glove shot. It's a great introduction to the character. I gotta say, it almost feels like a horror movie in the way it's shot and orchestrated. Just pulling this coffin up and then pulling with chains, bringing him. He steps forward, and he's cracking his. You don't even know if he's feral or not because he's moaning and groaning like a zombie and cracking his neck, and then he starts talking about circle jerks. Like, oh, that doesn't sound very feral. Or the wrong kind of feral. They preserve the release of the identity of this character for a little while too. With all the cracking and moaning he's doing.
Mm-hmm. That is the end. And then the lead he's got is that some guy stole a dog from some sort of facility. And he's running from the Enclave, which is another faction that I don't think we've met yet. And he's running to, and Michael T thinks this is of special interest to the ghoul. He's running to that witch Moldover. There's that name again.
Yeah.
She's from Cali, where you're from.
There's a lot. I feel like there's a lot going on in this scene. Am I crazy to remember this as the wanted poster, for lack of a better term, being the exact same one that is being drawn up by the Brotherhood of Steel when they're doing their really I think awesome secret code where they give you coordinates on a piece of graph paper and you fill them in, which is kind of awesome cryptography, but also extremely tedious. That's the same exact photo, right? Which implies that it looked like someone is spying on them.
I thought it looked like a skull that they're drawing, but you actually might be right.
I can't remember exactly, but if it is the case, that's the exact same image created in the exact same way. Someone is spying on the Brotherhood of Steel's communications.
Yeah. And the fact that two different factions are after this Moldover woman and she's infamous kind of makes me think that maybe she's a big shaker and maybe she has run into the Brotherhood. And they have beef. So, but clearly it's like there's something like, what's special about this dog? What's special about this guy? What did he steal? It's got to be some kind of technology, right? Or some kind of knowledge, because that's what the Brotherhood of Steel's whole ballywick is. So
they call it an object. So it feels like a thing that they say could harm the Brotherhood of Steel or save it. Which is very, I don't know, very confusing.
Especially when it looks like it's just a dog. It's a dog and a dude, man. All right, that is the episode. I think we've covered everything that I want to cover. Ooh, I do want to talk a little bit of spoilers just to kind of get the pump primed with my buddy Jim here. So if you are not a spoiler person, you want to tune out now, fallout@baldmove.com is how you do give us feedback. And again, it's all spoilery. We're not going to bother separating the spoiler from the non-spoiler. That way we're recording some of these things in advance so we can throw any feedback with any episode and it'll all be cool. But if you want to join us and get more Bald Move content and help support our podcast doing what they're doing and get ad-free feeds, the most important feature, go to support.baldmove.com. You can make all that stuff happen and appreciate that in advance. Final warning. GTFO. If you are afraid of spoilers, if this is your first time through, if you don't want to hear me and Jim talk about the conclusions of some of these questions that we've raised throughout the episode, again, this is your final warning. Jim, I'm not saying we've resorted to eating human flesh, but if you support the podcast at support.baldmove.com, we won't have to. We're back with more Tales from the Wasteland with the Fallout Boys. Do you remember the resolution of the Dane plotline? Because it's interesting in this episode that she doesn't feel like... fuck. It's interesting in this episode that Dane doesn't feel like... I mean, he's really oddly disconnected from what's happened to them, right? It's like, oh, the guys say that you might have done it, and I've got, I guess anybody could have done it, but they don't especially seem like they're mad at Maximus. And then, like, again, do you remember how this turns out? Like, what the actual answer is?
I don't, man. I don't remember much of anything about the show. I remember some big, like, key arcs, but that's about it.
It's revealed that Dane sabotaged themselves because they were afraid to take this step up. So, and that's interesting because, like, a lot of
afraid to just turn it down.
I did not like Maximus my first time through.
No.
I kind of grew to like him, but he's such a fuck up and such a just a hopeless fuck up. That it's hard for me.
Dumb and cruel and
stupid, like dumb and ignorance, like stupid, and it's hard for me to get with the characters like that. But I feel like some of these late reveals where he's not the kind of scum, and maybe he obviously had a rough upbringing. He's got a lot more layers, but I thought that was interesting that, like, all the things that people are saying about Maximus fairly apply to Dane. They are the one who is weak. They are the one who are afraid. They are the one who would hurt the Brotherhood to spare themselves, I guess. But I appreciate that they left us so ambiguous. They didn't, like, Maximus denies it, but it's not like a convincing denial. And then he admits to being the weak one. And the other thing, I asked this question kind of rhetorically or in a joke manner on the podcast, but is it possible that Knight Titus is kind of a joke?
I mean, I remember that Maximus ends up killing him somehow and taking his armor and usurping his identity, but I don't remember the exact details of that. Was he a joke?
I mean, he's played by Michael Rappaport. So my first thought is he's a complete joke. He seems like he's a coward. He seems like he's a bully. I don't know if that's generally just how the Brotherhood of Steel rolls, or it's one of those things where, like, Knight Titus is a shitty knight, so we're going to assign them someone like Dane or Maximus to kind of open up that suit for a more worthy brother. Maybe? Because, like, Titus is just not, like, the only thing that redeems Maximus is that Titus, for being a knight, is just kind of even the worst. He's just like Maximus, the same type of guy that Maximus is, except for he's got a suit of armor and he's a giant dick.
Well, the only person I've seen in this entire group that I have any respect for at this point is Dane. And the fact that they would sabotage themselves because they believe themselves to be unworthy, unlike all these other people who are just licking their chops waiting to get their chance to have power. Like, that to me says everything I need to know about the Brotherhood. That they are all universally awful and shitty at their jobs, and the only thing keeping them together is their discovery of this technology that makes them powerful and their blind adherence to whatever the higher ups tell them. That's my estimation of the Brotherhood after having seen this show. And and what you have here is like a struggle for the soul of Maximus between these two things, his nature and his very like real anger at his circumstance and this pull that he's experiencing from the rhetoric of the Brotherhood. And the opportunity of the Brotherhood, because what opportunities are out there, right? You're going to become a ghoul? That sounds like a lot of fun.
Right. And that's it. It's like, is that an inevitability? Like, does everyone become a ghoul if they spend enough time on the surface? Like, what is the pathway to being a ghoul?
Yeah.
I guess that was the thing that pissed off again. And I don't know, like, when the person says they're a Fallout purist, is that like, you know, did they actually have a good handle on things? Because I have been unimpressed by some of the purists I've seen in other fiction. It's my understanding that one of the things they hate the most is how the ghouls are seen as like, instead of being feral as a natural endpoint for the ghouls, that this can be delayed by medication. You know, you can stave off the effects of ghouldom. You can stave off the effects of feral ghouldom as long as you can afford to buy. And then obviously a lot of ghouls don't have that ability to make them. But that's one of the things that sets Walton Goggins' character apart. That he
that's just true of I don't know. That makes it feel like more real world and less video gamey to me, which I'm for. But look, I guess if you're a real big stickler and a fan of the games and you want it to be identical, that might be a problem. But that's just true of diseases. Like, the more money you have, the better we are at delaying the inevitable, right? Look at HIV.
Yeah, true. There's a South Park about that. Yes,
you can live a full and healthy life. If you're some schlub on the streets, you're dead.
You just put bags of cash and its aura keeps the HIV away.
Totally.
I mean, I can see it like, okay, like a continuum of a process where a person gets infected by something that makes them live longer and resist radiation, but ultimately deprives them of their sanity as it progresses. That makes a lot of sense. And maybe it doesn't make as much sense that, like, clearly being a ghoul is something that didn't happen in the old world. Well, who the hell made this medicine? Like, it doesn't seem to be a lot of big leaps forward in technology and health and things like that. There are people just trying to desperately conserve. So, like, who the hell came up with the ghoul medicine? But I wonder if they're going to hint that maybe ghouls were a deliberate part of the... Because you're going to find out there's a lot of skullduggery in the corporate world of the pre-fall. And I wonder if, like, they manufactured ghouls. So that stuff was all... as part of the experiment, that stuff was already baked in. So I then who gives a shit? You know, like an adaptation, the bare minimum you can grant them is doing a little bit of spins on the canon to make it a more interesting show or to give a character more agency or whatever that. So it's like, yeah, okay, this is if it violates Fallout canon, but it makes for a more interesting show. I really don't care.
They've nailed the spirit of this thing as best I can tell. Admittedly, I've not played the games, but everything I understand about the games from cultural osmosis tells me they nailed it.
And as we go on, some of the locations are just such, you know, again, I haven't played Fallout, but I've, you know, seen enough screenshots to know that, like, oh yeah, that feels really Fallout-y. And this show feels very, very Fallout-y.
Yeah, in tone too. You know, with the humor that they're bringing to it, I think that's part of Fallout. So I don't know. There's one thing I want to talk about in relation to Cooper Howard, who we know is a bigger figure in the vaults than we know now. He's like the spokesperson for the vaults at some point, right? I think we might even find that out next episode. Yeah,
that he at least was recruited for it, you know, because he's this big Hollywood star that's associated with the war and public safety. He's a person that people trust, you know. He's like a Will Rogers type.
And it works out to be really cute that he's got this thumb thing, right, happening, because like the guy who has like the thumbs up thing is also the guy who is advertising the vaults for the nuclear apocalypse. And when you hold your thumb up, if it's bigger than that, you're screwed. Like there's a lot of like connective tissue there with his character. And just that thumb motif, I guess, is what they're doing. It's pretty good.
Oh man, maybe they cut off his thumb. He won't be able to.
Oh my God.
Won't be able to safely judge atomic bomb distances. Those bastards.
Yeah.
What else do you want to talk about now that we're in the spoiler section?
Like I said, I don't remember a ton of where this goes. Just generally that, like you said, Hank, I guess, is a big player in all of this shenaniganery.
Yeah. And him being from a different vault, like they'll eventually offer this intrigue that like Vault 32, the other vaults are like the control vault, because a Vault 32er can definitely become the mayor or whatever the vault leader is, but there's this truism that when times are bad, you want to vote for, 31 or 33 or whatever. And the fact that he was so much more effective and so much more brutal and ruthless, even though he just seemed like this stock kind of goofy dad.
Yeah.
There's lots of hints. I think that's going to be one of the fun things, is seeing all the hints that they're putting in for like what's coming. The fact that obviously there's a mystery behind Lucy's mom. And it's kind of telling that the main antagonist that we've met so far knows what her mom looks like. And, will eventually, there's a horrifying reveal at the end of this plot about her mother and what's going on and whether her father was involved. And there'll be some big revelations about her father. And,
doesn't he like nuke a perfectly good city on the surface or something at some point?
So that's how Maximus gets saved by the Brotherhood of Steel, because he's from that settlement. And I think you're right. Yeah. I think that like the story is that his wife runs off with his children when they're very small, and it tries to settle in this city that some kind of more egalitarian society is trying to set up, or faction is trying to set up. Maybe it's even the New California Republic or something. And he doesn't like that,
as I recall.
So he nukes them just to get his children back from his wife. And
I think I was thinking about going and playing the games before season 2. I think what I'm going to do potentially instead, because we kind of just decided to do this show and I didn't have a lot of time to prep for this, and we've been out of town and covering a lot of other stuff. So I think I'm going to go back and watch the season again, potentially before the next episode, or definitely before 3, because I just need the refresher.
Yeah.
It'd be much more engaging if I do.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the big reasons we love doing these content review, or the retrospective leading up, because man, it really sharpens, helps us get our community more engaged, and also gets us sharp and fresh and ready for it.
Yep.
That is going to do it for the podcast. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage of season 1, episode 1. Again, we'll be releasing these one a week leading up to the eventual release of season 2. We'll have a 1-week turnaround gap there where we can wrap up season 1 and consider what we know about season 2 going into it. I think it's encouraging that this show is coming back a year late. Like, this is a big complex show with a lot of post-production, and Joy and Nolan are able to turn it around in about a year's time. Obviously it won a bunch of Emmys last year and won a bunch of Baldies last year. Got nominated for them anyway. So I like that's, a lot of people have been like, is this the new normal, that we're gonna have this 2 and 3 year gap tempo between big releases of shows? Fallout says no, it's not required, and it can be a big sci-fi show. It doesn't have to be The Bear, where you could just get everybody together in Chicago for a couple of weekends and just film that fucker and be done with it, So I'm kind of excited about that too. It shows that you're still capable of making great looking television that's sci-fi fantasy, and it doesn't take 2-3 years to get it to us.
Yeah.
Whether that's an exception going forward, or it's a sign that the new normal, that Hollywood is healing after the strikes and after the pandemic and all that, that remains to be seen. Anyway, glad to have you with us. Fallout at baldmove.com if you'd like to send us some feedback. Again, it's going to be spoilers only. And support.baldmove.com if you want to get ad-free feeds, if you want to get bonus content. Each week we have weekly shows like Lunch with Jim and Aaron, Off the Clock, etc. And again, ad-free versions, extra versions of more content from the podcast. If you want more Bald Move and you want to help me and Jim keep plugging away making these things, support.baldmove.com is how you accomplish both of those goals. That's going to be it for our Fallout coverage this week. We'll be back next week for the second episode, which I call the first episode of Fallout. It'll be funny revisiting the what the hell is going on of all this, trying to think of what did I make of. Well, yeah. As we discuss this next week, send the feedback to fallout@baldmove.com. Until next week, I'm your host Aaron,
and I'm Jim.
See you then.
We're going down.